Okay, so I saw something that said, how could a brown guy be so red-pilled? First of all, I'm offended. I'm not a brown person. But okay, whatever. You're actually onto something, right? Because I'm half black, right? I'm still waiting on the DNA result. I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm 60%. I know there's white on my black side, so...
You should unironically do one of those DNA
Oh, yeah,
tests.
it's in the mail.
Oh, you actually...
Yeah, it's coming in, you know? I just gotta wait like a few weeks. Yeah, I'm that insecure about my whiteness. Anyways, you do have a point, right? So, as a man of color, I spend a lot of time around men of color, and they're not the best. Fuck, I'm really gonna get painted as a Nazi now. But you know, that's the deal, man. Like when you're in the black community, you get red pilled pretty fucking quickly because you don't see a whole lot of people who are like intelligent, down to earth. Hey man, how's it going? How are you? Like proper grammar, sentences, reading comprehension. You just don't see a whole lot of that, right? And you think to yourself, okay, well maybe that's just my own experiences, right? I haven't seen all the black people, so clearly I've only seen the bad ones. I've only seen the dumb ones, I should say. Then you look at racial IQ statistics, and that's when you're like, oh, this is starting to line up now. So, most of you are probably already red-pilled on this issue, but I'll just rehash it. Essentially, if you're going by average IQ per race, you've got the Ashkenazi on top, 110 IQ, which, you know, people dispute that. People say that that's a meme. I don't know if it is. I'm not gonna look it up. I don't care. Whatever. You can correct me if you want. Maybe it is a meme. Then below that, you have Asians, who are 106 IQ, I believe. Below that is whites, 100. Then below that is Middle Easterns, which I think are like 90s. Hispanics were like low 90s or something. And then you got black people at pretty much the very bottom at every single graph. And their average IQ, I believe, is like 83, 85, right? And then when you find out that, you're like, okay, this is starting to make sense. This is why I haven't seen a whole lot of smart black people around, because there just aren't as many. You know, the averages just don't line up that way. So, and here's the fucked up thing, right?
I'm gonna charge my phone for a bit.
He's gonna go charge his phone. Here's the fucked up thing. People like to say, like, herp-de-dur, slavery, that's why black people are stupid, which doesn't make any fucking sense because they're a whole lot more stupid before colonization. Didn't have any calendars, didn't have any written language, didn't figure out two-story buildings while everyone else had pretty much figured out all that shit and way more, right? So yeah, they say like, oh, slavery or whatever, or they say like, oh, it's because money, right? Well, here's the thing. A white person and a black person with the exact same family income, the gap is still there. The gap is still there by like at least like 10 points, 20 points or something like that. So it's not money that's the issue. Right? Because even if you have the exact same amount of money, assumedly the exact same amount of education, because you have the exact same amount of money, you get the exact same amount of education, right? Even when that's the case, black people and other people, there's still a gap. There's still an IQ gap, which is fucking crazy. I didn't know any of this. Nobody told me any of this in school, you know? They don't tell you that kind of stuff because they're hate facts. Because the truth is racist. So they don't tell you about that kind of stuff, right? But then you go out and you figure it out yourself, and you're like, oh, wow, like, on average, different races are smarter, well, I mean, you know, smart is subjective, right? They have higher IQs or lower IQs than the others. And that's consistent. That's consistent throughout, like, all the time. If you look at the graphs, you know? It's crazy. It's fucking crazy. But, that's what the information says, you know? That's what it all says. He's not getting red pilled. But yeah. So there is a good chance that I think that's why, honestly, I think that's why so many white people are blue pilled, because they all grow up in these all white neighborhoods and they never get exposed to the real pause, you know. They never get exposed to significant amounts of black people. They're only ever in like pure white communities, and they think like, oh man, my white community was so racist or whatever. I need to be the opposite of that to fucking make up for that, right? And then they go into the real world and they're like, okay, well, maybe that's just my white devil brain that's working at this. Maybe that's why I've noticed that a whole lot of black people are, you know, they're kind of obnoxious, impulsive, very high time preference, but, you know, they just think to themselves, oh, well, you know, like, it's cognitive dissonance, right? They just ignore the information because they can't handle it. They can't handle it in their minds. I think that white people that grow up in, like, black neighborhoods and, like, strict, like, super culturally enriched neighborhoods are much more likely to grow up red-pilled, because they're going to know right out the bat. This is what the reality is, you know? That's what the reality is.